Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
All right, Vikings Vent Line, the off-season edition, back for another episode here. Declan Goff to take you through another edition of Vikings Vent Line. Of course, Vikings Vent Line roams on during the regular season with Mackie, Judd, and myself, and we welcome on a ton of Vikings fans immediately after every Vikings game. The off-season edition, however, a little bit of a different format, obviously, with the Vikings not playing games in the playoffs right now. So instead, I like to bring on a couple fans each week. We talk about the season that happened. We talk about off-season expectations, the draft, etc. So really excited to talk to my guys Dylan and Ryan here in just a little bit. And as I mentioned, this is Vikings Vent Line, and it is your show. So if this is something you want to be a part of, if you'd like to join this show in a future episode, please hit me up. For the YouTube audience, it's scrolling across the bottom of the page. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. That's vikingsventline@gmail.com. For the podcast audio audience, hit the subscribe button on YouTube for daily Minnesota Vikings entertainment, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, however you listen. We appreciate that. Going to be a blast here. Going to talk some draft. Going to talk some season takeaways last year for the Vikings as well. So really excited to talk to Dylan and Ryan here. And yeah, hit me up if you want to join this join a future episode of Vikings Vent Line. I love meeting and talking to as many Vikings fans as possible. Try to keep this show going throughout the entire year, meeting Vikings fans and talking to Vikings fans. So this is a safe space. Whether you agree with us or disagree with us, doesn't matter. It's a welcoming show here on Purple Daily on Vikings Vent Line. So appreciate everyone tuning in and listening and watching him. All right, so let's get our guys in here. Let's get my guy Dylan. Dylan's in here from Iowa. Dylan, you said your wife's a Chiefs fan and you're a Vikings fan, so that must be a little rough for you sometimes in the household.
It can be sometimes, but if she's winning, I'm winning. So, nice. But if I'm winning, who knows?
I got our guy Ryan here. He's just having some technical issues. He's working on the back end. He's about to join us too. But yeah, you're telling me off, Mike. Your wife, started as a Chiefs fan, and then you started as a Vikings fan. Was there some animosity when you guys first met that was brought up? How did that go down when you had to both lay each other out that you were both opposite fan bases here?
I think we were pretty good on the most part. I was actually the one who actually taught her more about football than everybody else. Like, she did high school cheerleading and everything, and she's like, "Oh, I've learned so much more from you than I've done through all at high school." I'm like,
that helps. That definitely helps. And I know you said you've been rooting for the Bills in previous playoff games, obviously Chiefs and Bills on Sunday too. So that's going to be a fun one. So good luck to you. Good luck to both of you there as you watch that one happen and take place. As we wait for Ryan to join here, I guess we'll just get started here, Dylan. I'm curious, man. So the Vikings are on the clock at pick 11. There's a lot of holes on the we already started to see some mock drafts pile up from experts and from fans and numerous outlets. And I'm curious, what's your take, dude? Do you want to see the Vikings take a quarterback? Would you rather see them take a defensive player in round one? What do you want to see the Vikings do this offseason in the draft?
I want to see them really take the best available. But my insight is like, I want them to take quarterback in the first round. Mm-hmm. And if they can bring like a bridge QB with the first round QB to like learn and stuff. So
yeah, BPA is always a good bet to make, right? Best player available. Usually ends up being a good bet to make for them. And man, with so many holes, right? Quarterback, defensive tackle, defensive line even, or edge rusher, a lot of different areas. Is there any rookie quarterback? Obviously, like maybe we'll assume that Caleb Williams, Drake May are off the board and probably out of the actual potential of the Vikings getting them. Is there a certain quarterback you're looking at that you kind of like so far in the pre-draft process?
I'm really high on that Jaden Daniels from LSU and Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. I feel like they have a lot of good skills that kind of fit in KOC schemes.
Daniels is interesting because, yeah, if he can stay healthy and if he's available and like maybe falls to like 5 or 6, I wonder if the Vikings trade up. Are you against trading up? Would you trade up to maybe go get Jaden Daniels and jump up like 6 or 7 spots, or is that a little bit too rich for your blood?
Oh, I'm pretty open to it. Got to risk it for the biscuit on that.
Yeah, I know. It's I'm curious what they want to do here, man. I mean, pick 11. Those first 2 quarterbacks, obviously, in May and Williams, are probably going to be off the board. But Daniels is interesting. How about Michael Penix? Obviously, you were able to see him a little bit in the national championship game in a big season at Washington. Does Michael Penix do anything for you?
Yeah, and I know he kind of struggled a little bit during the national championship game, but other than that, he's looked really good. He seems like he has a good arm, can read defenses pretty good. Just
Yeah.
the injury concerns from the past, a
Yeah.
little bit of red flag, but
Yeah, those knees are a little bit of a potential issues there. I know he's had a lot of injuries too, and I mean he's been in college forever. It seems like. So if they were to draft a quarterback, are you on board with that guy starting week one? Do you want to see Kirk brought back, or do you want to more see one of those bridge guys you're talking? Which one of those bridge quarterback options out there do you kind of want to see the Vikings maybe go after?
I would like them to get a QB, and if at all possible, if Kirk Cousins could do a team friendly deal,
Mm-hmm.
have him sit behind him for a year or two, and then give him the keys.
Yeah, I'm not against that either, and especially if like Daniels is off the board and maybe they even take a JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix or a Bo Nix, maybe even at like the back end, like if they trade down a couple spots or even trade back up into the first round. I think that's also totally plausible. Do you trust Kwesi here though? I mean, first draft, a little bit of roughs. Last year's draft, there was some good finds, obviously in Addison and Ivan Pace. How do you feel about Kwesi draft strategy so far?
I'm a little nervous because the 2022 draft class was not very good,
Yeah.
but I feel KOC is going to put in a lot of input of who he wants drafted in those spots. Same with Brian Flores as well.
Totally. Totally. We'll get to Flores here in just a little bit. I think we got Ryan now though. Ryan's calling from his truck. He told us offline. So you're on the road a little bit there, sir. How you doing?
Yeah, it's been quite the week. There's been a lot of weather down south. I got delayed, and man, the service just is not very good here today.
Oof. Where are you stuck right now, or where are you in the south?
I'm in Bears country right now. I'm in southern Illinois, so I'm in enemy territory.
Gotcha. Well, Ryan, I asked Dylan the same question. I'm curious. What do you want to see the Vikings do in the draft? Do you want to see them take a quarterback, find the future guy right away? Do you want to see them maybe build up the defense? What do you want to see the Vikings do in round one of the draft?
Well, to be honest with you, I think the correct answer is both, right? I mean, if they make some moves, they do some things with some trade about that in a minute. I think they could possibly do both. Now, if they can't do both, then I'm all for you got to go with a quarterback, right? I mean, I'm a big Kirk Cousins guy. All my friends know I love Kirk Cousins, but I don't know that we're going to get him at a very good price. And we have a lot of holes in this team right now. So if we can get a rookie quarterback in the first round, worst case second, we'll be sitting a lot better. So I would love to see them go quarterback, but man, that defense is very suspect. We'll talk about that as well. But I think we got to go quarterback. I think we got to move off him. We have to have a future. Worst case scenario, you draft somebody that's going to be like Mahomes, sit behind him for a year. Maybe Jordan Love, sit behind him for 3 years. Maybe have a bridge court. We have to have a future for this team moving forward.
Ryan, are you looking at any specific rookie quarterback? Has one kind of caught your eye more than the other that would fit maybe well in purple next year?
Well, to be honest with you, in the semifinals of the college playoffs, I was pretty impressed with Penix, and then all of a sudden the championship game happened. I'm like, well, I'm not really excited anymore. So I will say this: I don't watch a ton of college football, but a guy like Bo Nix maybe catches my eye a little bit. I think we might be able to grab him a little further back. Jaden Daniels, I think we'd have to maybe move up to get Jaden Daniels. Of course, Caleb Williams he's going to go in the first couple of picks, so we won't have a chance to.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options for him, man. I'm excited to see what they end up doing on the defensive front here. Dylan, what do you think? Do you think Brian Flores can continue to improve this defense? Did you like what you saw? I know things got a little wonky on the bookends of this season, but do you trust Dylan that Brian Flores is still the right guy and the Vikings defense is still trending in the right direction?
I say so. From last year being almost pretty much dead last to where they are right now, I think Flores did a really great job, and for him getting another year, picking players who think would be good for his scheme, it's gonna get better.
Is this also, Dylan, for you? Is it contingent that Daniil Hunter comes back? obviously it'd be great to have him, but do you think the Vikings are going to be able to re-sign him and keep him around for 2024 and beyond?
It's kind of hard to say, but my gut's saying yes.
Yeah.
They're going to bring him back.
Yeah. Ryan, how about you, man? Do you like Brian Flores' chances of coming back here? Were you impressed with what you saw? What did you think of the first time defensive coordinator for the Vikings this year?
You know, I got to be honest. I wasn't going to be coming back. But with that said, I mean, it sounds like he's not really getting any interviews, right? As far as head coaching positions. So I believe he's going to be a Viking here before. And the guy's a magician, right? I think back to the movie Major League, you know, when they're like, who are these guys, right? And I think that's how he was the first few weeks with our defense. We have and he did such a great job through the heart of the season, really scheming things, creating pressures, getting exotic blitzes to get pressure on the quarterback. Now, with that said, there's a lot of smart people out there in the NFL that kind of caught what he was doing, and they looked at it and they're like, wow, we can expose the whole middle of the field with the Vikings to bring a lot of people to get pressure. So in order for him to take them steps forward, I think we're going to have to solidify the defensive tackle position. I think we ranked dead last as far as getting after the quarterback from that position. And we also ranked very far back when the quarterback for the other team was targeting the middle of the field and safeties were bad. I think that was more because we had to bring them to get any kind of pressure on the quarterback. So if we can get him some guys to play with, I think he does a heck of a good job. We're pretty lucky to have him.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what Ed Donatel did and wasn't able to do really, and what Brian Flores was able to take with, man, not a lot of cooks in that kitchen outside of Danielle Hunter and Harrison Smith, and taking Josh Metellus and making him to like the Swiss Army knife, and taking Ivan Pace Jr., who was a great UDFA, and putting him as like a green dot linebacker by the end of the season. A lot of positives for that defense, and yeah, I think in general it's probably tracking the right direction. You just want to see them make proper adjustments where, you know, by the end of the year, yeah, they were getting exposed and they were letting up big yardage and giving up big plays. And all in all, a good job by Brian Flores, but I think there's still a little bit more to be desired, and that's probably going to have to fall on personnel that they find in the draft, some free agents fix, because, man, they were pretty barren and they were really raw and inexperienced last year. So if they're able to fix that, I think the defense, yes, is going to be getting back in the right direction. Dylan, we had a pretty controversial topic. By the way, I was out of this episode. I was on my deathbed, essentially. But Mackie and Judd talked about the idea of trading Justin Jefferson. Is this a non-starter for you? Are you open to the idea? Where do you kind of fall on this?
I am open to it if it's for a deal that we can't refuse. Otherwise, I am pretty dead set on keeping Jefferson, because if they draft a QB, I think Jefferson would be a great wide receiver to develop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'd have to get right to your point, like a king's ransom, a Godfather-like deal you can't refuse. You definitely aren't trading him for pennies on the dollar, even though he's coming off the hamstring injury. He was still incredibly productive. It would take away a major point of your offense. You're not going to have TJ Hawkinson for at least probably the start for maybe a month of the season. So, yeah, I mean, look, if they get the king's ransom, I think I can be talked into it, but they'd have to really wow me into the trade. You know, the Vikings are openly shopping him. That would be, I think, a bigger problem. But yeah, it's mostly a non-starter for me. Ryan, how about you, man? Is trading Justin Jefferson a non-starter for you as well?
No, he's got to go. I love Justin Jefferson. He's all world. Absolutely a top 3 wide receiver in the league. I mean, can't say enough good things about him. But we have a lot of holes, right? You look at the Packers, and let's face it, we all hate the Packers. All right, we're Vikings fans. We hate the Packers. And I heard on this last game, they said the entire receiving core for the Green Bay Packers against the cap was $7 million. And we want to give this guy 34. I don't think so, right? So I did some research. I was looking at some numbers, right? If you take a good look at it, the number 1 draft pick is around $40 million for the contract, $10 million per year. So if you kind of look to the middle, I would say the value of a number 1 pick or a first round pick is around $6.5–7 million a year. if you can trade Justin Jefferson second or 2 firsts and a second, or maybe even just a first and a second, here's what happens, right? You take $35 million a year against the cap away because we're not signing him. Then you look at it on math side, you have 2 first round picks. That's about 13 mil per year. A second round pick's about $1.5 million, 14, 15 million. If you get rid of them, you're going to get 3 draft picks, possibly 2 within the first 50 picks. You're also going to free up about $20 million a year, which allows you to go out and sign another free agent, maybe 2. You could potentially be looking at 4 or 5 really good key starters by eliminating him from the equation. I mean, you look at Puka Nacua, he's a 5th round draft, all the records. Wide receivers in the college game right now today are more pro ready than they've ever been before. And there's a surplus. I think if we can solidify the bigs with moving some things around, I think long term and looking towards the Super Bowl, I think that would be a better answer. Although I love Justin Jefferson, I will say that.
Oh no, I mean, you lay it out like that, man. I mean, you could talk yourself into it totally. I mean, they're gonna have some big contract decisions. Obviously, Kirk's being the biggest one that they have to cross. Then they have to figure out Jefferson. They have to figure out Darisaw. There's gonna be answers, or there's gonna be big questions they have to answer. And if you're gonna be log jamming a lot of this money, man, it's going to make life very difficult from a salary cap perspective, and to make things easier on your roster. And, you bring up Nacua, obviously, like a guy like Stephon Diggs was a 5th round pick. TJ Hawkinson was a 2nd round pick. I know he was a tight end. Jordan Addison was found late in the 1st round. The Vikings have done a pretty good job at identifying or finding wide receivers, sometimes that aren't 1st round studs, and they've also moved off of them when they felt that they can get something back in return that was significant. I know the Randy Moss trade didn't work out, but obviously trading Harbin worked out for them. Trading Stephon Diggs worked out for them. So yeah, I mean, I'd have to be talked into it, but I understand your point, and those were good points, obviously, to make there too, my man. Boys, before we wrap up here, I'm curious, Dylan, I know you might have to shout out your wife because she's a Chiefs fan, but do you have any last takes? Do you have any shout outs you'd love to give here on Vikings Vent Line?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out the wife for dealing with my crazy football all the time. Also family and friends. And one of my buddies who got me into the Vikings back in 2009. I guess a hot take or write that down prediction that you could probably do. I would say the Bears are going to trade their 1st overall pick to the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, wow.
Because of what we've seen from Kwesi, he isn't afraid to deal with everybody else in the division. He's done it with the Packers, done it with the Lions. Could do it with the Bears. And I follow Jordan Addison on Instagram, and one of the comments said, "See you soon, brother." And it was Caleb Williams.
Yeah. God, I saw that.
Could be foreshadow. Who knows?
I love it. Yeah, man. I think the Bears are open for business. Do I think they'll trade that pick in the division? I don't think they will, but I love the idea of the reckless nature. I know I love that little Caleb Williams spicy piece of info and just a simple comment on Instagram. And, of course, we take it and run with it. Good takes, and obviously good luck in your marriage, too, and good luck on, obviously, Sunday and on divisional playoff weekend with the Chiefs still playing football. Ryan, how about you, buddy? Any last takes you'd like to give? Any shout-outs you'd love to give? The floor is yours.
Well, I got to shout out my parents, of course, big Vikings fans. My mom is the typical Minnesota fan, right? She loves to complain about the Vikings, and she wants Cousins gone more than anything. Like, me and her argue all the time. My boy J.R. Tardy, he actually turned me on to the show here a couple of years ago. But my takes is this, right? I think the games are won in the trenches. And where are the Vikings? They've been horrible in the trenches over the last several years. So whatever we have to do to solidify that, you look at a rookie quarterback, right? Or you bring in even a bridge quarterback. I believe just about any quarterback in the league can make the passes if they have time. The whole goal, right, of ball is to protect the quarterback, give your receivers time to develop routes. So you got to have really good players up front. And on the defensive side, you want to disrupt their timing. We need some people. We need a lot of help in the front on the tackle part of the defensive line. We need a lot of help there to get after the quarterback. So I look at it, if we can solidify the bigs, get a center, get a defense, that's going to make every part of our game better, because now the secondary, they can actually play back, do their job. They're not worried about blitzing all the time. The offensive line, the running game has been absolutely awful. And I really think Ty Chandler's a player. He's special. Me and my boy JR, he's like, this guy should be playing. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. When you watch him with the ball in his hands, absolutely special. But when he's getting contacted, literally the second he has the ball in his hand, it doesn't matter if you have Barry Sanders running the ball. He's not going to get any yards. So you got to give him some help. So if they can solidify the bigs, I think that's a positive step towards the Super Bowl for the Vikings.
I love it, man. You got to build back up in the trenches. Absolutely. That's what made the Vikings, 15 years ago so special, was those defensive lines and offensive lines. And then they were able to, plug and play some pieces, and they went to an NFC title game in 2009. Fellas, appreciate your takes, your insight. Ryan from your truck, Dylan from down below the border there in Iowa. Appreciate you guys joining Vikings Vent Line. And again, if anyone wants to get in on a future episode, hit me up. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. Appreciate everyone listening and hitting that subscribe button for daily Vikings entertainment.